I'm Jasmine Irojak with the Midday News. In a disturbing incident in Bana District, South Bougainville, police are investigating a severe case of violence involving a man accused of sorcery. The attack, captured on a widely shared WhatsApp video, shows the man being forcibly hoisted onto a tree branch, beaten with a large branch, and pelted with various objects. Authorities identified the victim as a resident of Torokina. Inspector John Popui of Buin Town Police described the attack as an act of inhumane torture and noted a troubling increase in sorcery-related violence in the region. He emphasized the importance of legal processes and warned against the dangers of vigilant justice. Investigations are ongoing to apprehend those responsible for the attack. The people of Central Province at Kwikila Station are witnessing the launch of the Central Provincial Government and District's 5-year development plans. Governor Rufina Peter arrived to a rousing welcome by traditional dances this morning. In attendance also are prominent Central Province leaders, Abao MP Sir Pukatemu, Rigo MP and Planning Minister Sir Anopala, and the Secretary for Department of Implementation and Rural Development, Aihi Vaki. Prime Minister James Marape is attending this event also. Here are the highlights of the traditional welcome given to the guests who arrived earlier today. Four suspects who were part of 5-men armed robbery on May the 2nd at Boroko in the nation's capital were apprehended by police on Sunday, May the 5th at ATS. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Silva Sika confirmed that the two suspects, both armed, entered the Asian shop and held up security guards, employees and shop owners before walking off with more than 5,000 kina worth of items. Sika said police caught Kelly Black and Amen, who are criminals known for other armed robbery offenses in the city. He said the two named were shot and wounded during the apprehension and are nursing gunshot wounds at the Port Moresby General Hospital. The other two have been charged with armed robbery and are detained. Only one is still on the run. Prime Minister James Marape and President Ismail Toroama have agreed to endorse the engagement of working moderator to support the two governments relating to the ratification and post-referendum issues. The leaders resolved this during the Joint Supervisory Board meeting in Port Moresby on Wednesday.
Prime Minister James Marape and the Autonomous Region of Bougainville President Ismail Toroama have resolved to work together to develop the moderator's mandate and terms of reference within a week of the signing of this Joint Supervisory Board meeting through joint technical team of both governments. The leaders also discussed key issues relating to the ratification and post-referendum issues. The engagement of a working moderator is to support the two governments in resolving outstanding issues relating to the seasonal order and related matters to bring the results of the 2019 referendum for independence into the national parliament, facilitate and provide oversight in preparing the joint consultation report, and assist the bipartisan committee in joint awareness messaging to members of the 11th National Parliament. On the issue of fisheries revenue sharing arrangements, the leaders acknowledged that this agenda has been a legacy agenda of the JSB and directed the ministers responsible in both governments to further discuss and conclude this agenda. The ministers, chief secretaries, and responsible agencies will work on a mechanism to conclude the fisheries revenue sharing arrangement. On the agenda on financial issues, including the Prime Minister's commitment and the Restoration and Development Grant, The leaders resolved that the funding support under the Prime Minister's Commitment Program will be discontinued post-2024 and that these funds be used as a trade-off to retire outstanding RDG areas owed to the Bougainville. On the agenda on BCL says the leaders acknowledge the ongoing delay in the transfer of CES to the ABG, due largely to considerations on cost implications of the stamp duty tax required for the transfer of CES. The national government committed to have the stamp duty tax of 1 million kina settled by Kumul Mineral Holdings Limited and that the BCL CES certificate be handed over to the ABG by the end of May 2024. The leaders reaffirmed their joint commitment to the Bougainville Peace Agreement and to the Melanesian spirit of consensus in ensuring that a peaceful process is followed through as both governments prepare to walk through the final leg of its political journey. The leaders also agreed that the next meeting of the joint supervisory body will be in August. Freddie Mo, TVWAN News.
In Kimbe Town, market vendors received 28 gas stoves and 11 sewing machines from UN Women, facilitated by the provincial administration. These gifts complement the training the vendors underwent to prepare for the new Kimbe market. Despite a year's delay in receiving these materials, they acquired skills in cooking and sewing, as highlighted by the Philbert Vitata Community Development Executive Manager. Maria Ante, a women's representative in the Provincial Assembly, encouraged the recipients to effectively utilize both the new equipment and the skills learned through their training with UN Women. Turning overseas, the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre has expressed outrage after ancestral remains were delivered to its office in brown paper bags. The incident has also drawn a strong reaction from the government, which stated it is deeply disappointed and is considering whether revisions are necessary to the coroner's rules to prevent such occurrences in the future.
2 years ago, a leg bone was found at a beach in Tasmania's southeast. Last week, it and other human remains were dropped off at the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre.
That a police officer had walked in off the street and handed over brown paper bags containing the remains of the bodies of our ancestors.
Nala Mansell says there was no warning from the coroner's office about the delivery of the ancestral remains.
This is our family members, so to have to go through that trauma of having the remains of someone, a relative, dropped off in a brown paper bag is just so disrespectful.
The leg bone was found at Carlton Beach near Hobart in 2022. The other remains were found on Tasmania's remote west coast near Low Rocky Point in 2016. In his findings, the coroner says it was only through recent forensic testing and radiocarbon dating that it became clear they were Aboriginal remains because the bones were more than 1,000 years old. The Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre says it should have been advised about the discoveries when the bones were first found. The Greens say the handling of the situation has been appalling.
And it is a stain on our government and the institutions of the government that an act like this would still occur today.
The Tasmanian government says it's seeking advice about the appropriateness of existing provisions in the Coroner's Act.
I've been deeply saddened to hear of the reports of how that situation was managed. I don't think any of us in our communities would find that in any way acceptable.
Plans are now underway for a cultural burial of the ancestral remains. The Coroner's Office declined to comment.
New Zealand Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Winston Peters will lead a political delegation on a 5-stop Pacific tour next week to strengthen New Zealand's engagement with the region. They depart New Zealand on Sunday, May the 12th. The delegation will visit Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, New Caledonia and Tuvalu. New Zealand has deep and long-standing relationships across the region. And Minister Peters said this trip will reaffirm these connections and commitment to key Pacific partners. Minister Peters will be accompanied by Minister for Pacific Peoples, Dr. Shane Retty, and 3 other ministers. The leaders will share and discuss views on priority issues in each country, including the impacts of climate change, development priorities, and challenges to broader stability. A Western Sydney council has voted to ban a book on same-sex parenting from its libraries. The Cumberland City councillor behind the move, Steve Christo, admits he hasn't read the book, but he claims it sexualizes children, an accusation the local major rejects. The state government says the ban could break anti-discrimination laws and is threatening to pull funding for the council's libraries.
The sight of a boy with 2 dads on a book cover at a Cumberland City Council library was too much for some.
They were very distressed because their 2-year-old saw it and was asking questions.
Last week, Councillor Steve Christo moved an amendment to, as he put it, rid the council's libraries of books about same-sex parents.
Our kids shouldn't be sexualised.
Debate flared.
We don't want some old-fashioned book burning here in Cumberland.
And the ban passed, 6 votes to 5.
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
Do you know what it's about?
Well, as I said, I haven't read the book.
Here's an extract.
A small number of people might treat people from same-sex families unfairly. This is not okay.
Mayor Lisa Lake voted against the ban.
So I think it's a serious issue about censorship.
How's it a sexualised book?
Well, look, the issue is I've already answered that, okay?
Well, what's sexual about it? I'm just trying to understand.
No, we're saying children shouldn't be put under the burden of having to think about these issues.
Jessica Edwards lives in Mr Christo's ward. The transgender woman went to council to complain.
If you don't want the kid to read it, put the book down and walk away.
Councillor Mohammed Hussein voted for the book ban. This decision was made in line with my religious beliefs.
Isn't the real issue that you've got a problem with gay people and you don't support the idea of same-sex parents being able to raise children?
No, I comprehensively reject that.
The Attorney-General is seeking advice as to whether the book ban may breach the state's anti-discrimination laws. The government is also warning the decision may affect the funding it gives the library. That's more than $700,000 a year for the council's 8 libraries.
Every time a council is starting a culture war like this, it's distracting them from picking up your bin or filling in the pothole in the street.
Should any book be banned from the library?
No. Information should be freely available to anyone who seeks it.
Even if it's about same-sex parents?
Why not?
A petition to overturn the ban has gained more than 10,000 signatures.
In sports, PNG Football Association yesterday conducted its compliance workshop in Port Moresby for team managers in preparation for the upcoming Premier Men's National Soccer League 2024. The all-day workshop covered topics pertaining to compliance matter. From the 8 teams, only 6 attended the workshop. Newcomer Admiralty Island Football Club didn't make it to the workshop due to a flight cancellation. Lead presenter John Capinato said compliance matter is crucial for the game going forward. He appreciated the club managers attending the workshop and looking forward for another competitive football season. The 2024 Premier Men's Soccer League kicks off its pre-season this weekend. And that ends the news update. More to come at 6 by now.